Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Growth listeners. Today I have Ryane LeCesne. She is an Advance Accelerator Coach. Thank you, Ryane, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Benny. Thank you to your listening audience. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Something I always like to jump into, especially when I have coaches on here, is what separates you from other coaches?
Great question to start. So I would say there are two categories that I think distinctly make me. One is my approach to coaching. So I look at, or what I offer for my clients, really what I call as a holistic experience to coaching, to transformation, to mindset advancement. And what I mean by that is I offer traditional coaching, traditional executive, Georgetown leadership transformational coaching, purist coaching. And coaching is one of, if not the most powerful professional development tool on the market. It is the quickest way to quantum leap your self-awareness, to begin to understand why you don't take action on the things that you want to take action on, create a plan, get support from somebody who understands, how to shift from A to B, how to really navigate that transformation. So it's so important, is the coaching piece. The second piece is energy healing and clearing. And I almost took a pause there because it's like, where to start with that? Your listeners, I'm not sure, how far along the spectrum of energy healing and clearing, people are within this audience. But what I have come to understand as a person who is what I would consider both divine, having a divine spiritual experience in this human body, I am on a quest. I'm on a quest to overcome things, overcome my challenges, to live my dreams. And at the essence of that is both an energetic experience as well as a spiritual experience, which is the third piece. So I'm going to start with the second, which is this energy piece. We are, at the essence of us, we are energy, just like anything else that exists in this physical form. We are energy. And we have what's called an energy body. And we have what's called emotions, which are energy in motion within the body. And we can feel these emotions. So what does that even mean? So let's just think about fear. Let's think about it as an entrepreneur. So as an entrepreneur, we have to face fear every single day based on I am able to do something, I'm able to execute, or I'm not on our dreams. And oftentimes, of course, we are living in the subconscious mind, which is literally driving 95% of who we are. And so we can get caught in this feeling of fear, which then invokes within us an energetic also response, a feeling of fear. You feel that fear in your body. You have a visceral response to it, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And your energy within your body responds to your thoughts and your emotions. And it feels something. You feel the stress. You feel the impact of that fear on your energy. We talk about, I feel ungrounded. I feel low energy. I don't feel centered. I feel like I'm scattered. These are some of the ways that we talk about our energy. So I approach coaching from an energetic standpoint. The third piece is this spiritual piece, is this quest, is this idea of a hero's journey. And I think that that's the entrepreneur's journey, the small business owner's journey, is this idea of we have a vision, and many of us are maybe even new to the vision. I have this vision of, for me, I have this vision of coaching. I had never coached before. When I started my business, I hadn't really I was just starting training. So, here it was, this vision of something that I wasn't even certain I was able to actually do from a skill set. So the spiritual quest that I think entrepreneurs are on is also what I talk about with my clients. So it's this trifecta effect, coaching, energy management and clearing, and this spiritual journey that I think people are on. And then this personal piece is that I am my own best client. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner, and I am a recovering perfectionist who can get caught in the imposter syndrome, perfectionist, distractionist loophole. So, from a technical side, I get it. From that holistic side, I get how to lead someone. From the personal side, I get what it means to be stuck and to consistently have to do the work to stay in transformation. So that's a long-winded way of saying, how am I different? I walk the walk, I talk the talk, I've learned the learned, I've done the 20,000 hours, and I've created something I think that's holistic and authentic.
Well, let's rewind. Let's talk about that young perfectionist growing up. I mean, who was Ryane?
Who was she? Well, it's interesting because I think who I've landed in being in my business is very much like who I've always been, who I was wanting to be. I think as a little person, I was definitely now I have even greater language for who I was at that time. I was always someone who very much looked to support others, support my friends, whether that was through, conversation, so coaching, really wanting to bring positivity to a situation, really wanting to bring a sense of like, how can we, not from a kumbaya perspective, but true, how can we approach this from a perspective where everyone can be seen, felt, and heard? So I now understand from an energetic standpoint that I am truly an empathic person. It's one of my gifts. I also would say as a little person, I was a visionary. Like I love to see visions. But how does the perfectionism, really play into a part of that? I would say perfectionism for me really skews my it skews the visions, right? It skews my ability, because what perfectionism is essentially is a mindset. It's a pattern of beliefs. It's a habit. It's sort of a perspective of seeing the world. And when I have almost like those glasses on, or when I had them on as a child, it's very hard to feel like you've achieved your goals. It can be very difficult to feel like you've advanced something, because at one of the sticking points of perfectionism as a mindset is that you have a very strong vision or sense of where you would like to go. The vision of, this either experience or yourself doing something, or a goal coming to fruition. And it's at such a high level of excellence or such a high level of perfection. If only it looked like this, if only I were able to do this, then it would be perfect. And what happens is it's very hard to get started when the vision is so big or so scary or so massive. You get stuck in that fear loop. So I think even though I was a person who was very empathetic as a child, and a person who was very supportive as a child, and very visionary, I would get in my own way in terms of being able to execute on some of those things, because I would get lost in, am I doing this right? Am I doing this perfect? Is this enough? And so while I might be executing on things and being compassionate and being empathetic and nurturing and all the things that I would love to do, am I noticing it? Am I recognizing it? Or do I feel like I'm kind of like disconnected with myself because I'm not experiencing it in the way that I feel is perfect? So it got to be that kind of loophole. And again, didn't have the language at that time.
So it sounds like that you had paralysis by analysis kind of thing, where you were overthinking things. So what did you accomplish, and what did you hope to accomplish at a young age?
Okay, so this is the thing about perfectionism. Again, you're talking about, for so many high achievers, the statistics are something like 80% of high achievers can really be plagued by perfectionism. Again, this is a habit. This is a way of thinking. It's almost like a persona of protection, kind of protecting someone's ego sense of self. But nonetheless, what had I accomplished? I mean, I did all the things. I went to great high school. I had a successful high school career. I rode horses. I played field hockey. I, graduated, well in my class. I went to Spelman College. I graduated there within 4 years. I did well. I went into teaching. I loved teaching. I ran a nonprofit. I did pharmaceutical sales. I mean, I did the things. I achieved. But it's the sense of, do you within yourself feel like you are accomplishing your goals? It's a real shift. And I think what I'm finding is people are often finding this in their 40s. They're making this shift. Perhaps this is my main clientele. 99% of who I work with are high achieving women. And what I'm finding is that often we look up and we've checked off all the boxes. We've done the schools. We've accomplished many, many, many titles. We might have great wardrobes, great handbags, great shoes, maybe a partner, maybe children, a great house, all the things. And then we look up and we feel like, who are we? Who am I? What do I want to accomplish? Who have I been? I have been so focused on building this very perfect, tight-knit world to feel like I'm enough. And yet in the background, in the inner workings of my world, I have been striving for something that wasn't even necessarily my own, wasn't even something that I wanted. And we look up, and oftentimes perfectionism has been what has kept many people out of living what I call their brilliance, because this constant strive of looking for something that is outside of yourself, which is perfectionism, rather than sitting with yourself and saying, I've got this idea. I don't really know how I'm going to start. I'm just going to go for it. Failure's part of it. I'm okay with that. These feelings of uncertainty and self-doubt, they're not really real. It's part of the process. I'm a human being. I'm okay. The inner talk for a perfectionist is critical. It's judgmental. It's never enough. You're never quite there. You need to do more. You need to strive. It needs to be right. You gotta go for more. It's never enough. That's a very, very, very different
Okay.
driver internally. Go ahead. Yes, please.
Let's go back to your story. I
Yeah.
know you're trying to
Oh,
teach
yeah.
about why you're
Oh,
doing this
sure.
and
Let me
this,
tell you. Absolutely. Go ahead.
So let's get back to you, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone there, we've kind of gone over the idea of perfectionist, right? It's never enough. It's never, and we're going to get to that
Right.
point, right?
Yeah.
So you went to school, you did some teaching, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so from
That's right.
teaching, it was about, what was the idea of there, and was it? And you said it wasn't your goals. It sounds like it wasn't your goal. Whose goal was it for you to be a teacher?
Oh, sure. Okay. So I understand. I think I'm having a better sense of the question, and I appreciate that. Sort of how did I trip into where I am today? Sort of who am I, unpacking the perfectionism understanding? Got
Or
it.
just
Okay.
your journey. I mean, because people
Yeah.
want to
No.
relate to you.
Absolutely.
If people are listening, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have people that just, okay, I want to listen to someone teach me. But we have so many coaches out there. But
Yeah.
before someone wants to actually learn from you, they want to know who you are, right? They want to know
No.
you're a real person.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Really, really dipping into a story. So let me drop into like an authentic story of me and what does perfectionism look like. So here I am. I've done all the things. I mean, whose goal was it to teach? I had an idea to teach, and I taught, and I loved it, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. Let me tell you when I really bumped up to perfectionism, where things boiled to a point where it was like, this is really a problem. And it was when I hit entrepreneurship. What happened? So I'd started a business based on coaching, which is what I exactly wanted to do. That's a whole backstory to talk about too, how I fell into it. But nonetheless, I fell into this idea of coaching, and it was something new for me. And for the first time, there was an intersection of, I have to create something from nothing. I have to create something from nothing, which means I have to stand in the space of my vision. I have to stand behind what I'm creating. I have to be the one to not only create the vision, but execute on it. So, an example of this and how paralyzing this could be was, I am required to do all things in my business. I'm required to do the videos. I'm required to do the writing of the scripts. I'm required to do all these things that are outside of my comfort zone. None of them have to do with coaching whatsoever. They all have to do with running a business, marketing, sales, so on and so forth. And so part of my strategy is to connect with my listeners, my audience, my community that I am nurturing and building through social media, through video. And I had done all of this work with my coach, with myself, to create a course that I was running. But of course, I'm also really afraid of marketing, all the things that we just talked about. And I found myself on a Friday, and for about 3 weeks, it had been on my list to create this campaign, this commercial. And I had written the script and all was well. It was well edited. And I said, today's the day. And I looked up and there was every single thing that I could think of that was in my way. I scrolled on Instagram and there was this woman who was selling a course and she had a great couch and setting was fantastic. Do you know, I found myself getting up, getting my keys and going to the furniture store. I promise you, to look for what? A gray couch. And the salesperson said, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for a gray couch, kind of tuckered around, left. Well, the weekend came. I gave myself some time. Monday came, back at it again, looked around my room, my office, and there were files everywhere. So I started organizing them. Felt like if I'm going to really execute this, I've got to get my brain together. I've got to be clear. Everything has to be right and exact. So I spent the day cleaning my files. Tuesday comes and I have a meeting with my coach and she's like, how are the videos? I'm so excited for you. Well, I needed this great couch. I'm really looking for a setting. People have to take me seriously. I've got to come across in this exact way to look right. And, and then Monday came and these files, my mind was so cluttered. And she said, well, I'm sure you have something. You've done so many videos. You have something to sit on, don't you? And I said, well, of course. And she said, and are the files in your video? I said, no. And she said, Ryane, what are you hearing? And I said, Tara, I can't believe it, but here I am again. Perfectionism is literally standing between me and being able to accomplish this. And it was this real sense of there's nothing else here but this false barrier of I'm not ready. I'm not enough. Everything was done. Everything was ready. But here 3, 4, 5 days have passed and I'm not executing on my vision, on my goals. And it's because of a habitual way of thinking.
So what are the timelines? I mean, the timelines from how it's you're in school, you started your coaching business and then got into the nonprofit and then came back into the coaching business? Or what's the timelines for yourself?
Timeline. So I taught for a good while and then I went into nonprofit management and then I started my coaching business 8 years ago.
Okay, so the teaching, was that your business also, or were you under like a professor or a teacher or under someone else's umbrella?
Yeah, that's right. I taught at elementary school.
Okay. And then for the nonprofit, an employee, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so was it easier? I mean, because being a perfectionist like you're talking about, was it easier basically be given a task to do something relative to you starting your own business to be your own boss, or do you see any kind of difference in that of how you kind of go forward?
I do. I see a very strong difference in that. And that I think the tendency for perfectionism, again, is a mindset. So I think it was always there. I don't think it was as an impediment until it was no longer a task. It was, you are creating the vision, you're standing behind the vision, you're selling the vision, you're owning the vision, your livelihood is tied to the vision. Are you enough to execute on this vision? And standing in that space was the most, I think, maybe exposed or vulnerable space that really triggered the realization that the mindset was there. And I do find that oftentimes it's almost it's almost something it's under the surface until someone is looking to make a quantum leap in their career and their life. It is right when we're on that cusp of a goal where the monkey mind chatter comes in, when we're right at the border, we're right at we're right at that point where we're like, okay, I can pull the trigger. Am I enough? Can I do this? And so absolutely, entrepreneurship ripped the Band-Aid off of that for me.
How long did it take to rip that Band-Aid off from the idea of leaving your nonprofit to actually start your coaching business? How long was the Band-Aid for you to rip that off?
Oh, well, what's interesting is I had started the vision of my business well before I had left the nonprofit. So I had started the vision of, I have been doing what I'm doing without the title of coach, energy healer, anything else for the last 2 decades. I've been teaching, training, empowering people, doing mindset work, leadership work. So I've been doing the doing of it. It has been the business aspect. In fact, the business aspect has been what has provoked, I would say, the most vulnerability, the most insecurity, because I did not start my coaching business at all understanding that this even was a business, or what a business even is. So, let's talk about that. Like, no idea what even a business was.
So you're talking about, 10 to 12 years, you were kind of giving guidance to other people,
That's
yet
right.
then you go, I can make a career out of this. Where did the light bulb come about? We're saying I can make this into a career. How long did that time frame come about?
Yeah. So I went back to school in my early 30s for a master's degree in communications. And in the process of that, I took a consulting class. This is pre-coaching, but I took a consulting class, learning to be a consultant. Coming out of that, I was working at the nonprofit, and I also felt like I was ready to expand, ready to start my own thing. I wasn't quite certain what that was, but all of these intersections happened at the same time. And like, if you've ever read the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, one of my favorite transformational books, I walked into work and I had an entrepreneurial seizure. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I can do this for myself. I can make this happen. This is for the birds. So I did. I left and I started a consulting business that quickly became a coaching business, because I had run into a coach, fortunately, and understanding what a coach is and does wrapped up my business. This is exactly what I want to do. And so from there, I immediately moved into coaching school. Now, I want to also make the distinction here. None of this is about a business. This is all about technique, which is also wrapping back to Michael Gerber. So I went to coaching school. And if you go to a training like coaching school, you begin to see that holding the space for somebody's transformation puts oftentimes the person who's learning to coach in a space where they are very insecure. Can I do this for someone? Am I able to do this? So you've got all these people who are working through their own barriers to help other people work through their barriers. So this is part of it. Now I start my business and I'm doing this all on my own. We didn't learn anything about running a coaching business. Most of life, as you know, I'm sure, is trained for people to be employees, not to be entrepreneurs, including coaching school. So I come out, I have no idea how to run a business, and yet I have no job because I have quit my job and I now have a business that I do not know how to run. And I do all the things where I've created a website all by myself. I learn how to do webcasts all by myself, webinars all by myself, all the things that I'm overtaxed, I'm overworking, I am overspent, I'm overinvested, and I still am not building a clientele. Now, what I'm talking about is the first 6 months. And I serendipitously ran into a woman who is a coach. And so this is when I start to notice some of the way that I am showing up as a business owner, which is very different from me as a teacher or some of the other professions. I am standing in my insecurity as a business owner early on. And she sticks out her hand and she says she's a life coach. And I stick out my hand and I say, I'm a transformational leadership coach. And all that I can feel on the side of me is like a thought bubble that says, you want to be a business owner, but you're not. You don't have any clients. You don't know what you're doing. Like, you're so uncertain. So I could hear this, uncertainty that was sort of like a cloud following me around. She and I met for lunch and she said, if you want this to be a business, if you want this to be a business, you need to learn how to run a business. It was the first time I'd ever even run into any advice that running a business isn't about, and you hear this as an employee of things, but you have no idea until you start. You can't just, put up a shingle and people come. You have no, there's a process, there's a business that you are building. And it wasn't until I began to build my business that I knew that that was even a reality. I had no idea. It sounds so naive with all the things I've learned to do. I mean, I have built my business from the ground up, scratch. Every single thing I have, every ounce of it I have built. And yet when I started 10 years ago, I had no idea, other than maybe a business card, that I needed any of it. No systems, no functions, none.
Besides failing forward, did you have a coach throughout the whole 8 years that you've had your own coaching business?
I have. I've had the same one. I've had two, but one that I've been with for the last 8 years.
What, when you were, I guess, looking for a coach, and it sounded like you were at early stages, more of a down moment kind of thing of trying to figure everything out. How do you find this coach, and how do you know they were the right fit for you?
In fact, it was her.
Well, no, but I understand that. I mean, like, because like there's an idea of like, maybe once I get to another level, I need a different coach, or the coach I did can only get me to this level.
Yeah.
Or, what, I get so many different coaches out there. I'm not really sure which one to go with. So was this on a whim? How long of a process do you know you had the right coach, and how do you know you still have the same coach to get you to the next level?
Yeah, great question. So I knew when she said, you need to, first of all, let me say this. Anybody who's looking for a coach, and if this person is telling you not the things that you need to hear, like they're selling you on things, but if you hear wisdom in what they're saying and it connects with your spirit and your soul, and that's the thing that I need, that is a very good intuitive hit that's the thing that you need. So when she told me, if you don't learn how to make this business a business, you're basically going to have a hobby for the rest of your life. And I knew it was at stake for me. If this business didn't survive or didn't grow wings, I knew that the rest of my life, because I have put my heart and soul, before this was what it is now, the vision was so clear and so strong and so connected for me. If I did not do this, if I do not execute on this, I know I will have failed at something that would have been mine to own and to impact the world in whatever way that I can. It was so strong. If I didn't do it, I would have been a failure. And so when she said to me, I'm going to help you do something that you didn't even know that you needed, and it spoke to my wisdom, I knew I needed to find whatever means it took to work with her, not with someone else, I had just left a whole coaching program with fantastic coaches. Not that I wasn't interested in working with anyone. I was interested with working with her. I wanted to pay. I knew I need to find the funds to pay this woman to help me cross this bridge. When someone runs into that clarity, that is the time to pull out your wallet. When you hear like, this person's going to help me, I know it in my soul. That was how I knew.
With the growth of where you came from, where do you have your vision for going in the future? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Yeah, next 5 years. So I have a community that I am running that I am excited about continuing to nurture and build. I can imagine that in the multiple hundreds of individuals in that collective community. I have a course and a program that I have run that I will continue to see really expanding and making a huge impact on the lives of women. I also see retreats, which I think are a really exciting way to support a large number of individuals, and perhaps maybe some publication.
Do you have anything in play right now with the publication, or is it just kind of an idea for the future?
I do. I have a workbook that I have been using with my clients for a long. It mirrors my course that I have created, and so it's a series of exercises to really support a person advance their mindset, get to clarity on their goals, and to take action on them. And so I can imagine either some type of workbook-esque, also memoir, talking about, again, sort of the mindset of perfectionism, how it has hindered and also, propelled me throughout my journey as an entrepreneur. So I can imagine it being a hybrid of those two kinds of things.
Thank you, Ryan, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. If people are listening and they're looking to keep their eyes on for the publication, if they're looking to maybe reach out about coaching or any other avenues you might have in the future, what's the best way of them getting more information?
Yeah, thank you. So my website is the best way. It's www.inspirebrandconsulting.com. I offer two things there. One is a discovery call. If someone's interested in connecting around a discovery call, I offer that for free complimentary call. Also a tool, which is a quiz. If someone is interested in learning more about the mindset of perfectionism or imposter syndrome, they can take that quiz and get some more information. That's also on the website, www.inspirebrandconsulting.com.
Perfect. And all that information is in the show notes. I think some other social media platform for Ryan. So go in the show notes. Please subscribe. Please share. And if you're a perfectionist out there, know that it's never going to be perfect. Right. But as long as you did it and you're moving forward, you're better than you were yesterday. Thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe. Right. Please share. And go tell your friends. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much.